Xewuze Headspaces, Viwe, the brother from the ancient mother, and once again you're watching another segment of Africa's most poignant hip-hop channel, hip-hop podcast, where we uncover, discover, analyze, synthesize, and basically celebrate the journey of this beautiful culture called hip-hop in the motherland, in the continent, Africa. Now, this particular segment is the reviews, of course, and I'm reviewing a project that I want to set up by saying rap music has an incessant tendency to have become one of the only few art forms that takes itself a little too seriously. Matter of fact, just a lot, like massively seriously, to the extent where the personas of rappers, the whole approach of the art form tends to be this niche of trying to actually be larger than life, to project yourself as some kind of specialized force and agent of power. And I understand how that has come to be. The origins of hip-hop are a form of empowerment. Therefore, rap as an element is something that was created to boost the broken egos of oppressed people. Now, when an art form comes in those kinds of origins, its style tends to be about the emphasis of redeeming the self in the face of its own conscience, trying to understand the value of the person as an individual and how they can manifest themselves as an aspect of greatness. This is why hip-hop, particularly rap, is so obsessed with the idea of the GOAT. This idea of being great, of being special, of being all-powerful, permeates through rap music in ways that are fair enough inspiring to kind of catch the vibe of and infectiously be riding the wave, especially in a capitalist construct which kind of beats our back each and every single day, where rap music becomes one of those injections for confidence. But the drawback tends to be the fact that a lot of rappers don't position themselves in the place where they're just normal, where they're like you and me, where they're not bragging about why they're special or different from you and I. Now, the rapper who I'm about to review is particularly compelling because he is so normal, because he presents himself in a way where he's not trying to be extra special, but his speciality is just how normal he is. I'm talking about none other than Supah Mpondo, aka Mpo, the rapper who's basically kind of Eastern Cape born, Gauteng hybridized, troubadour of SA of note. Now, as a poet, as a lyricist, his tradition of writing definitely comes from the pocket of the hyper-lyricist whose focus is on narrative and internal dialogue. But the difference about Supah Mpondo, aka Mpo, is that he delivers this in a way that is groundbreakingly mundane. Now, the mundane, the idea of mundos, the earth, the world, is this whole contrast of the fact that the greatest things are the highest things, the most elevated things. And as a result, we tend to associate the greatest lyricist with a level of loftiness. It's even in the word. We look at people who are great as above us. We say we look up to somebody. And if we look up to people, that probably means they look down on us. So it's this whole hierarchy of greatness that has a more than tinge of toxicity in it, because it says that whoever is great is superior. Now, Mpondo breaks that by applying greatness as a collective feature that happens in between all situations. He looks at simple things like brushing your teeth or taking a dump or washing your clothes as the things to be appreciated. So the thing about Mpondo is that he's taking things that we undermine because of just how regular they are and showing us that, dude, we don't even know why we're here. We don't even know how we're here. Therefore, everything you do and experience is extra special. And there's a level of depth in the things that you regard as normal, especially in those things, because those are the things that are pushed away into the backdrop of the so-called typical. Now, Mpondo is a lyricist who fights for the right for the mundane to be special and shows us how special it is, because he possesses a skill that's able to carry profundity, that's able to carry a level of analysis, that's able to look at, again, these simple situations and reflect on them in limerick and metaphor and humor that is attractive to a broad, accessible crowd. And it's this kind of magical charm that Mpondo has wrapped around his simplicity, and of course the kind of direct, humor-driven approach that makes his rap just so extra special. A lot of lyricists, a lot of hyper lyricists, a lot of these backpacking, battle rapping, you know, lyrical, spiritual, miracle MCs tend to position themselves in a place where their intellect is a shining light that kind of positions itself above the listener. They are telling you things that they probably assume you do not know about, or giving you perspectives that they feel are forgotten or unemphasized upon. But Supah Mpondo doesn't do this. He talks to you as if you already know what he's talking about. In fact, he assumes you do. And as a matter of fact, he takes this further by assuming that you're intelligent enough to follow the philosophical inclinations of everything he says. I mean, through every joint in here, it's simply an internal squabble, sometimes conflict, sometimes just a simple conversation with himself. And isn't that what we do every single day? We talk to ourselves in frustrating ways and encouraging ways, in ways that our inner voice tries to explain some of the complex things in the most simplest things in life. And I think this is what makes this particular project a shining light in South African hip-hop, where even till this day, we are fixated and truthfully suffocated with rappers who are trying to somehow be better than everybody. And it's this edge of competitiveness that bloats the ego of the MC to a point where they often don't just appear to be regular anymore. And there's power in that. There's power in just being able to tone down the level of grandiosity and just simply talk from a place where you understand that the person you're talking to probably knows more about what you're talking about than you think. And I think this little brief, precise and compact project does, with an impeccable ease, again, something that weaves itself as a testament to simplicity and maybe minimalism, and in a way that is kind of metrically designed to work for the broader folk. You don't have to be necessarily into hardcore hyper-lyricism to appreciate this. Again, Mpondo's conversational tone allows for this to flow easily enough for it to catch your ear in a way that you'll give your 2 to 3 cents in it, because again, there's humor, there's levity, and there's brevity. So it doesn't appear to be deeper, it doesn't aspire to come across as deep. The only thing it aspires to do is to just express, in the simplest way possible. Now, the production by Stormlooper is something that kind of hinges into the concept of the album, Unskippable Tracks, the project, Unskippable Ads, rather. Now, the idea of Unskippable Ads here is done in a way that's so brilliant because they weave together South African pop culture commercials in a way that filters into our imagination so effortlessly. Because, I mean, what's the one thing that we probably hear more than actual people is just ads everywhere, ads on YouTube even. There's probably 2 to 3 ads that you've already been watching as you watch this video. Now, the thing about ads is they're just so much a part of the pop psychology of capitalism that using the idea of a message as a stream of consciousness of unskippable ads is, again, this whole idea that if anybody is selling anything to us and it's not anything that can fit into the aspect of everyday life effectively, then it's not worth buying. And I think this idea hinges into how Mpo and Looper present this package as one huge ad, with brief intermissions, with elevator music type gentleness, a lo-fi sound which doesn't appear to be too bombast. And as a result, it's a gentle project that's made for the conversational listener. It's definitely something that people who love music that taps them into something soothing will appreciate. It's a project that you can listen to Whether you're walking home or driving home, it's a project where you don't want to get lifted up, but you want to get put in between the process of what's going on in the world in a way that just feels as normal as talking to your mother, father, daughter, whoever it is. And I think this is the power of what Mpo is doing right now. So on a sonic level, conceptual level, just general methodology of how this project is executed, it stands as a testament for how revolutionary Mpo is right now in what kind of rapper he is becoming. As a result, a whole lot of points that I give to this project are for the sheer novelty and perfect execution of what it understands itself to be. Not a lot of MCs truly know how to construct something that speaks fully and honestly for who they are. Again, people try to jump for these grandiose tropes, and it can be great, it's inspiring, but a lot of the times it loses just the basic groundedness and humility of being human like everybody else and everything else. So, what's the rating? Ultimately, I've got to give this one a solid 6.5 to 7 out of 10. I mean, the brevity of it, it's short, it's literally an unskippable ad. And because it's an unskippable ad, you go back to it because, again, you're into the idea of what's being sold. And essentially, ironically, what's being sold is the idea of no selling at all. It's the idea that the most valuable thing ultimately is life. And if we're to transact and engage with each other in ways that show value, that is the ultimate product. And that is, no pun intended, priceless. And Supah Mpondo is giving us a kind of rap that's drawing us back to the priceless things, to the things that we may be able to put a tag on, but when we engage with them, it is more about living the perpetuity of relationships as they evolve and unfold. So the significance of this project in its sonic anchoring is how there is nobody right now in this country, let alone in the whole entire fucking planet, who's doing this kind of music. I can name a couple of influences that Mpo definitely draws some influences from. America, we're talking about Homeboy Sandman and other MCs who are kind of creating this rap, which is just so much about bringing us back to how normal we all are, that it doesn't lend itself to the gold plaques and the platinum chains and everything else which seems to be aspirational in today's world. And isn't there something special about that? So shout out to Supah Mpondo, shout out to Storm Looper, shout out to the kind of rap that can revert us back to the idea that greatness is among us, and that those that we hail as GOATs are expressions of who we are. They are no different, but they are an expression of where we are as a people. And I think it's downright salvational in the way that Supah Mpondo is able to kind of attempt to make us think about how powerful that is as a notion. I for one am inspired, and I think you will be too if you give it a chance. Shout out to real artists, bringing themselves to the fore in ways which do not attempt to sell things, but that happen to be a product by virtue of who they are as a people. Because we live in a world where it's becoming increasingly evident that the only real commodity, if I could put it that way, is the value in who we are and how that affects the world around us. So if you aspire scale of anything, it's gotta be Ubuntu. And I guess that is the ethos that permeates through Mpo's music, which I find incredibly infectious and important in the times that we're living in today. My name is VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. It's been another Headspace album review. Check this nigga out.